Sunday morning or afternoon to all of you watching. I'm Jessie Coffield. Welcome to The Sweat presented by DraftKings on Bally Sports Networks. 1 hour of DFS and sports betting advice coming your way, leading you all the way up until kickoff of the games at 1 p.m. Now, before I toss it over to my trusty co-host, Emerson Lotzia, we got another chance for you to win $1 million, everybody. You can enter the NFL $4 million Fantasy Millionaire contest right now in the DraftKings lobby. It's a $20 entry fee that gets you a shot at the $1 million first prize. Plus, the winner will earn a seat to our DraftKings Tournament of Champions, the ultimate DFS contest for the best of the best in fantasy, which will take place in January, and we'll have another $1 million top prize. So we have just under an hour to lock, so go check out that contest right now. And as you start building your lineups, stick with us. We're going to give you some great fantasy advice. But before we get there, how about some sports betting advice? Emerson Lotzia is here with our NFL panel for just that. Emerson, take it away.
All right, TV's Jessie Coffield, everyone. Let's give it up for her. Come on, let's go.
That's great. Friend of the show.
Good morning, panel.
Good morning.
DraftKings contributors, Reed T. Fowler, Steve Buchanan, Julian Edlow over here. This is Early Edge. You guys share with us your favorite bets today. I'm going to start with Fowler here because you've got some marbles.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the Titans, on the road, facing America's team in Jacksonville. What's going on with you?
America's team, I don't know about that. But yes, I'm back in the Tennessee Titans here at -4.5 is where I got it at. And look, Jacksonville has rest advantage, guys. I know that. And Jacksonville put up a pretty decent first half in last week's Thursday night game against the Cincinnati Bengals. But that second half, they gave up 24 points to that same team and scored 0. So this is a little bit of an overreaction, in my opinion, with the Tennessee Titans losing to the Jets. A.J. Brown is active. I do think when you have Derrick Henry, when you have A.J. Brown, Ryan Tannehill, the original three guys for Tennessee, I think this is a good one. This is a divisional matchup. I get it. It can be close. I'm taking the Tennessee Titans -4.5.
But, Steve, Tennessee 1-5 ATS in their last 6 as a road favorite.
Wow, that sounds awful, but that doesn't matter because of the matchup here against the Jaguars. Here's the thing. Everybody is not going to be on the Titans in this one because of how bad they burned everybody last week. Hello, I'm one of those people. But this is a great bounce-back spot for the Titans. They get A.J. Brown back. They get Derrick Henry back. Obviously, Henry wasn't enough last week for this team to overcome the Jets, which is a weird sentence to say. But look, they're going to be in a great spot here against the Jaguars, who are also a little bit banged up themselves. No DJ Chark in this one. They're going to have to rely on Laviska Shenault, maybe some James Robinson. This is going to be a sloppy game. 2 really bad secondaries on both sides here, but I think the Titans do enough to overcome this and cover that spread.
But, Jules, don't you feel like them being competitive, hanging in there with the Bengals in Thursday Night Football maybe gives a little more confidence to bettors for the Jaguars backing them?
No.
Sure, and that's why we saw the number shrink. That's why the number is what it is. We had a look-ahead line of 7.5. And it gets close to cut in half with that number touching 4 this week because the Titans lose to the Jets and because the Jaguars show up in a tough road game at Cincy and have a longer week to prepare. So there are reasons that the number has gone down. That said, I can't possibly bet on the Jaguars in this game after the week that they've had, the distractions that they've had. I agree with Reed, and I'll be on the Titans.
Steven, your favorite bet. Looking at also to back a road team here?
Yeah, there's a lot of road teams actually that are in good spots here this week, but I like the Chargers -2.5 going against the Browns. Baker Mayfield playing with that partially torn labrum in his non-throwing shoulder, so you're probably like, oh, that's fine, no big deal. But if you look at what Mayfield has done over the past 2 weeks, completing only 53% of his passes, 401 yards, only 1 touchdown thrown. Now he's going to face arguably the league's best pass rushing team, a really solid secondary. So where is he going to get the ball down to the field in this game here? You're going to be able to run against the Chargers. They have a very poor run defense, so great spot for Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. But if they're not running the ball, then how are they going to get it downfield? I love everything the Chargers have done thus far. Justin Herbert proving that the sophomore slump isn't real. There is no type of curse when it comes to Justin Herbert, but I love everything that the Chargers have been doing. Love the pass rush. I think it's going to be a bad week for the Browns, so love taking that really small number for the Chargers, -2.5.
But Fowler, Cleveland just held the Vikings to 7 points, and also that whole offense only 255 yards.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that when you look at the Cleveland Browns, too, they have one of the best, like Steve mentioned, one of the best running games in the NFL. And when you get the Chargers, look, their defensive stats aren't great against running backs. Outside of that Raiders game, they're averaging 170 yards on the ground to opposing running backs. That's not great. That's not great for a guy like Nick Chubb, who hasn't got a touchdown yet in the last 2 games. So there's props out there on the Cleveland side that you might want to take a look at. And Kareem Hunt's playing above expectation. Like this team, Baker Mayfield has probably had a torn labrum for a while. And he's still, like, this is how they deploy their offense, right? I don't think this is anything new. When you take a look at the Browns, too, guys, 4-0 ATS in their last 4 games as road underdogs. Now, trends are meant to just be that kind of to paint a picture. I'm not necessarily going to say that that's going to stick, but that scares me a little bit with a team that can run the ball as good as Cleveland. They're second in time of possession as well. So I like the Chargers. I think they're a solid team, but this one scares me a little bit. I would side with the Chargers with Steve, but the Browns can't put up a fight.
Yeah, you make a good point there because they're 3-1 this season. 3-1 ATS. The Browns have been one of the safer bets this season, Jules.
The Browns are a good team. This is a tough game. This isn't a layup by any means. It's not fading the Jaguars per se. But look, it's a strong spot for this Chargers team who has the Coach of the Year favorite that people are starting to fall in love with. Herbert is climbing up the MVP rankings. This is a spot for the Chargers to show what they're made of, and we have the Mayfield news. We have a balanced attack. Just the Chargers can pass, they can run, they have a good defense. The Browns can run the ball and play defense. I just think the Chargers have more edges in this game, so I have not bet the Chargers yet. It's in the later window, so maybe it's something that I add on a little bit, but I certainly side there.
I do know that you're going to be betting the Bills plus 2.5 at the Chiefs today.
Well, we're betting them plus 3. Did it move back? I got it earlier in the week in 3. It went to 2.5. I saw it was back at 3. So it's at 2.5 now.
2.5
You're going to put it this way. You're going to be able to get the Bills at 3. Some Chiefs money will come in. It's been going back and forth. Get the key number. Do yourself a favor. But, yeah, when you look at this game, number one, the Bills lose that AFC Championship game to the Chiefs. A little bit of a revenge narrative. The Chiefs have not been a good team against the spread going back to the middle of last season. It has been a while now. Mahomes and the offense will do their job, but they're going up against a very good Buffalo defense that, outside of a fluky special teams touchdown for Pittsburgh, could be, among the NFL's elite. They have not given up much to offenses. So they're not going to shut down Mahomes, but they will limit Mahomes. Whereas the Bills' offense is maybe a tiny bit behind Kansas City at worst, and they're going to be going up against a Swiss cheese Chiefs defense that cannot stop the run, cannot stop the pass. I just think the Bills are going to put up more points, and when it comes down to a team needing a stop at a key moment, Buffalo's defense is the one that's equipped to do so.
All right, let's see. First of all, Buffalo hasn't faced a quality opponent yet like this season. The Bills have played the easiest schedule in the NFL, and the Chiefs have played the 3rd toughest schedule.
Yeah.
Nope, and that's totally fair, too, but everything we've seen from the Bills makes me think that you should be backing them in this spot here as a road underdog. And I mean, you look at the public numbers on this one too. 51% of the handle is on the Bills at plus 2.5. 57% of the bets. 72% of the handle on the Bills money line in this game. The public is loving the Bills. Not always the safest thing to be riding with the public, but this is something that I do agree with in this spot here. And Mahomes has been under pressure a fair amount during the first 4 weeks of the season. Under pressure on 33% of his dropbacks. The Bills pass rush is ranked just outside the top 10 according to Pro Football Focus. So I think this is a great spot. I know I almost slipped there. I think this is a great spot for Mahomes to be under pressure from that Bills defense, which is going to allow the Bills to limit his production, which is what Julian was talking about earlier too as well. I love the Bills as road underdogs here. It just feels strange that they're in this position, but this is where I like taking them.
Well, Reed, do you have any reasons to fade the Bills here?
Yeah, because it's the Chiefs, right? Like all the stuff the guys are saying is absolutely true, right? Like the trends point to the Bills. I think there's more value, honestly, with the money line, like Steve was mentioning, on the Bills if you want to take that, right? Especially with a game that's this close, with the Bills coming in with this much heat, and then the Chiefs, right, and how they've been playing ATS so far this season. But I mean, I spoke about this earlier too. Since 2018, the Kansas City Chiefs have the highest win percentage at home of any team, and their margin of victory, their average margin of victory is 3rd highest at 7.6. Again, stats that from 2018, 2019, 20. Like they're different teams, right? The Bills are a completely different team than they were 2 years ago. But when you have that environment with Kansas City at Arrowhead, guys, I think that's a little bit scary. Having said that, though, like you mentioned, the Bills stop the run. They're great against the run, and they're great against the pass, right? So right now, that leans you towards the Bills. But this one feels a little trappy to me. I'll side with Kansas City, but what the guys have been saying, the Bills look like the team right now to be in the AFC.
Yeah, because the Bills' defense have played offense is quarterbacked by Ben Roethlisberger, Jacoby Brissett, Taylor Heineke, and Davis Mills.
Okay, but also
Right.
in that span, the Chiefs can't cover. They cannot cover a spread. Are you bringing up numbers right now on their?
I wanted to see what the Chiefs were as underdogs, and they haven't been so far this season, and they went 1-1 against the spread as underdogs last season. So there's not really much there. But going to the Chiefs and saying the Chiefs at home, it just something changed in the middle of last season that they haven't been able to cover, and I know this is a much shorter number than we're used to, but I think there's something there. I think there's a changing in the AFC, and I think the Bills are going to be the favorite in the AFC after this game.
1-9 ATS over their last 10 games for the Chiefs.
Yeah, and I know that primetime loss to the Ravens and also a tough divisional opponent like the Chargers. Like, those aren't embarrassing losses.
Yeah.
Good stuff, dude. That's how you open a show right there.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. We have tons more coming up here on The Sweat, presented by DraftKings, as Steve and Julian here will reveal their favorite underdog plays of the week. But first, our friend Pat Mayo has some DFS advice to hand out to all of you as he tells us about his top stacks for your DFS lineups.
I'm Pat Mayo with your Week 5 DraftKings picks, the best stacks that you can make. When we're talking stacks on the DraftKings main slates, that doesn't mean the London game. That game's off the main slate. We're talking Millionaire Maker slate only, the early and late games, no Sunday Night Football. No island games involved in the Millionaire slate this week. So what we're looking for stacks, obviously, is the most upside, but also the most correlation and maybe a stack that is a bit off the beaten path. For example, the Dallas stack with Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, especially with Murray Cooper banged up, and Dalton Schultz. Maybe you want to add in Cedric Wilson to save some money. Maybe you want to use a Murray Cooper if he's going to be active and bring it back with Saquon Barkley. That's going to be a very common stack this week on DraftKings. Probably a pretty good stack too, because when you look at it in terms of raw projections, you want to find the ceiling projections, because that is how you're going to win tournaments. And Dak Prescott, the third highest ceiling projection, only behind Tom Brady and Kyler Murray this week on the main slate. But that's going to be very popular. So even if you do hit that stack, you and 10% of the other remaining players are just going to have to figure out who the one-offs are going to be on your teams in order to make this all work. What if you just played it the other way around? Because you do expect points in this game. Now, if there's one thing about the Giants' defense that is a little bit better than most of the league, is their pass defense. Now, is it good enough to shut down the Dallas Cowboys? Probably not. But they can't stop the run whatsoever. We've seen Zeke get back up to that high elevated level of both touches, efficiency, and efficiency near the goal line and scoring touchdowns. So maybe you want to play this the other way and save some money and then really pay up at your other positions. Because if you go and just got to hold your nose and do this, you have Daniel Jones. Maybe you could even include Saquon into that if you wanted to. I don't love that, but we've seen him be involved enough in the receiving game that can work out for you. And then you can take either Kenny Golladay, who is dealing with a hip injury. Slayton and Shepard both appear like they're going to be out. So you have Kadarius Toney and you have John Ross once again at $4,000 and $3,400. Let's just say you wanted to use those two. John Ross is the deep play threat, filling in for Slayton. And then Kadarius Toney is the one filling in for Sterling Shepard in the slot and is going to see a ton of targets. Maybe Diggs shuts down Golladay, and then Evan Ingram just pulls his regular Evan Ingram stuff and doesn't do anything. So you have this super cheap stack of Daniel Jones, John Ross, and Kadarius Toney. You bring it back with Ezekiel Elliott. You are different, but get access to that same game, and then you can kind of pick and choose who you want at your other positions. In that lineup, you could actually afford both Derrick Henry and Davonte Adams if you wanted to. You could even play a minor correlation on the other side, mini stack a game of both running backs, like Derrick Henry and James Robinson. That is affordable if you find a cheaper stack that you can go with that week. I like targeting this Giants-Dallas game, but you might want to rethink about the ways that you're trying to attack it. This way, you get contrarian, you still get access to upside, but your one-off players where you can really differentiate your team and hit your ceiling is available for you as well without having to sacrifice at your primary positions. I'm Pat Mayo.
All right, thank you, Pat. Who doesn't love a good underdog story? These two guys certainly do. Steve Buchanan and Julian Edlow are here to tell us their favorite underdog play on the NFL Sunday slate in our latest edition of the Dog Pound. So, who do you like, Steve?
Yeah, so we're going to talk about some of our favorite underdog plays for Week 5. Julian, we've already kind of showed your hand here, but let's talk about the Bills one more time.
Look, you gotta pick the right team, right? I'm not, just because we just talked about the Bills,
Yeah.
I'm not going to not give the Bills here. And this is just as outright winners. So do I want the 3 points? Absolutely. Am I going to bet the Bills plus 125, plus 130 on the money line as well? Yes, I think they win this game at Arrowhead Stadium. This is a statement game for the Bills. This is not just a numbers game of what we've seen so far this season and why we like Buffalo in Kansas City. It's really just the defense. Like, Bills offense, elite. Chiefs offense, elite. Bills defense, we believe to be elite. Chiefs offense, near the bottom of the league. Like, one of these things is not like the other. That's why I think Buffalo is going to get this game. And then the narrative fits right into. They lost the AFC Championship game in this building. Now they're returning with what I feel is the better team. You win this game if you want to be for real this season, and I think the Bills go ahead and do that on the national primetime spotlight.
Yep. And, obviously, as we mentioned before, as I brought out some of the numbers there, the public loving the Bills in this spot, too, despite playing the Chiefs here on the road. One team that I also like as an underdog for this week, the Cincinnati Bengals going up against the Green Bay Packers here on the road. These are two different teams that are struggling with injury while the other team is getting healthier. The Bengals are the team that is getting healthier. T. Higgins back in the lineup for this week, while the Packers are dealing with a bunch of injuries. MVS obviously on the injured reserve list. They lost Jareer Alexander, who's by far been their best corner, which is good news for T. Higgins, who should have been lined up against him, now getting a much softer matchup. Joe Mixon also expected to play in this game too as well. The biggest thing that I like in this one here is that the Packers are going to be struggling to run the ball. The Cincinnati run defense has been solid so far this season. We've seen how much Aaron Rodgers has relied upon Aaron Jones so far this season. They're going to struggle to get the ball downfield with Aaron Jones. Davonte Adams, he's obviously an elite wide receiver, but that's really going to be the only option for Aaron Rodgers in this game, whereas Joe Burrow, who's looked phenomenal, now I don't think that's being talked about enough through the first 4 weeks of the season, has his full arsenal of weapons. If you can tell me that I can get the Bengals at +3, +2.5, I'm taking them all day in this spot.
I like it. We're doing too much agreement on this show. There's nothing that I like more than arguing with Stephen Reed and telling them why they're wrong, but they've been pretty right, in my opinion, so far today. I like the Bengals. A lot of injuries at key positions for the Packers. Not necessarily skill position guys that you're looking at for your fantasy team, but guys on the line, guys in the secondary, places that are going to make it hurt. I like Cincinnati's offense. They have all the weapons. Mixon's going to play. We thought he would be out. Higgins coming back, like you said. The Cincinnati offense is clicking. They have those offensive line issues that they eventually maybe need to address a little bit more. They took Chase over the O-lineman, but Burrow's got his targets, and he's been hitting them. So, yeah, I think, and I'm somebody that's tied into some Packers futures win total to win their division. Like, I like this team long term. I don't think this is a spot, and we know what Joe Burrow's done as an underdog in his career. What is he, 8-3-1 against the spread as an underdog?
Correct.
Obviously, the Bengals are generally underdogs, but Burrow performs in this spot. I think that the Bengals are going to win this game at home.
Packers, massive public favorite in this one. Only 14% of the handle is on the Bengals.
And
plus
yet,
2.5.
where's that line moving? It has gone down from 3 to 2.5.
Exactly. So
that's called reverse line
that
movement.
That is reverse
Steve.
line movement. There's a little terminology for you. And I'll also give you some other terminology. Our buddy, Emerson Lotzia, he said anybody can become a millionaire by playing on DraftKings. We have talked to a couple of those people who have become millionaires. Emerson Lotzia, he's going to tell you all about it.
My man, you nailed it, dude. Our Week 4 millionaire winner. That was user Jay Zinzer who told us the play that put him over the top was Deebo Samuel's fourth quarter touchdown with $1:20 left and San Fran's lost to the Seahawks. That's an exciting way to win a milli, but even more exciting since he was at that game. Thanks to Jay Zinzer for the picks, and congratulations on the big dub. By the way, check this out. His winning lineup, like I mentioned, that 38.7 fantasy point performance from Deebo was ginormous, but he had a 2.5% on Saquon Barkley play in there, and then nearly 35 fantasy points from Cordarrelle Patterson at 6.7% ownership. Also a big reason that this individual took down the fat milli maker. All right, that was last Sunday's millionaire winner, but as we have mentioned many times here before, we are crowning millionaires weekly here at DraftKings, and right now we have the pleasure to talk to one of our past champions. So Rich Green 4 taking down our Week 4 Thursday Night Football milli maker, and he's making time for us. Rich, we appreciate you, dude. How you feeling today?
I'm feeling great, man. Thank you very much.
So you're one of our newly minted millionaires here, dude, but your sweat was kind of unique. You actually tied for first in last Thursday's contest between the Jaguars and the Bengals, forcing a Monday Night Football tiebreaker. Tell us how that worked.
So me and one other guy tied for first. Came down to the last kick of the game to shoot us up there into the first place tie. I like to pick a couple guys that are very, I guess, don't have a really realistic chance of becoming the top scorer or the captain, and knowing that in fields that big that it could really pay off. And luckily for me, CJ Uzomah did that exact thing for me. And I didn't even watch that last kick. I couldn't even watch. I was just listening to the fans and then turned around, waiting for the ref to come out and say there was a timeout or something for the kick. And I'm still on cloud nine. I don't know if it's ever going to hit me, but it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, that's amazing. I like the contrarian approach that you take to these things. I mean, back to that sweat that you had. You said you can't even watch it. Was it that feeling the entire night, especially as you see CJ score a couple times?
No, not at all, actually. So at halftime, I was not doing very well. And I kind of thought maybe my night was done. And as the game played out, things happen so quick. And it's amazing because 1 minute you think you're out of it, and then a couple plays happen and you shoot right back up, and oh crap, I'm right back in this thing, And CJ Uzomah catching 2 touchdowns. I mean, the first one was big, but I thought that was, that's all I was going to get. That's all I was really hoping for, to be honest with you. And then once he caught the second one and had a couple other catches in the game, I realized, oh, shoot, I'm only down out of first by, I think it was 2 or 3 points. And, the feeling, I really can't explain it. I think you just got to experience it for yourself, and it's very unexplainable. It's amazing.
So then explain to me this, Rich. I mean, how'd your lineup strategy change from the big Thursday night contest compared to the Monday night head-to-head?
Sure. So on those big contests with big fields, you're playing against so many people. I mean, hundreds of thousands of people that you're not going to win a ton of money, or at least your chances of winning a ton of money aren't great if you're just making pretty basic lineups, because everyone else is making the same thing. So like I said, one way to create, a pretty unique lineup is picking some people at your captain spot that might not realistically have a chance unless they just absolutely kill it, which is what happened on Thursday. Now going into the tiebreaker on Monday, when you're just going against one guy, I mean, you almost just want to pick the top 6 people that you can squeeze into your lineup. So played a lot safer on Monday, knowing I only had to beat one guy and not hundreds of thousands of guys. So, I felt like the safest pick was Herbert, so I put him at captain and then just kind of filled out the roster accordingly, and it worked out great.
Dude, in that moment when you had the $1 million secured, could you even breathe or think about what is happening in your life?
I'm going to be honest with you. When the kicker came out to kick at the end of the game, I was a little shaky. And really it wasn't more so because of the money I may be winning here in a minute. It was more so of, don't let this be my story about how I almost had a bunch of money and a kicker missed the kick kind of thing. I was kind of nervous in that sense. I didn't want to be I was so close guy. And then after it happened, it was almost like a sigh of relief. And not because I've ever had a lot of money or even a fraction of money, but I just felt kind of validated, like it really happened. And all the time I put in trying to capture this big tuna, I guess you could call it, actually paid off. And I immediately went in and woke up my girlfriend, and she didn't believe it either. She woke up the next morning and woke me up asking, was I dreaming this or did this really happen? And I played along a little. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, it really happened. Again, it still hasn't hit me. It's just amazing, the financial relief it provides. And I can't thank DraftKings and you guys enough. But, woo.
All right, well, if you can hear me, hear this. Don't let all these guys have all the fun. Take your own shot at winning $1 million in Week 5. Head over to the pool section on the DraftKings Sportsbook and enter our Championship Series Millionaire Pool. Pick the winner from the 14 games starting with Sunday's 1 o'clock slate. The more you get right, the more you win. Whoever gets the most takes home the top prize of $1 million. It's $25 to enter, and you can put your name in that hat up to 40 times. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details. We'll be back here on The Sweat, presented by DraftKings, with a new segment on some of Week 5's best pivot plays. But first, here is Gary Vaynerchuk on one of DK's newest podcasts.
Hey guys, it's Gary V. Make sure you tune in to DraftKings YouTube channel for Die Hard Dialogue, where each week we do a listener league, DFS, and give away some of my highly valuable football cards, and we boost one prop bet. Die Hard Dialogue, DraftKings YouTube channel.
DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL. And today, new customers can bet $1 on any NFL game and get $100 if any point is scored. Plus, new fantasy players can play free for millions when you make your first deposit. Just download any of the apps and use promo code SWEAT.
Welcome back to The Sweat, presented by DraftKings on Bally Sports Networks. I'm Jessie Coffield, and it's time for a new segment that we're calling Pivotal Roles. So we have DK contributors Reed Fowler, Jeff Ulrich, and Piers Dietrich here. And how this works is I'm going to give out a potential chalky play for Week 5. Then you guys tell me who you would pivot to at that position, or you can just eat that chalk. So let's start with quarterback Daniel Jones. He's $6K playing at Dallas. Piers, do you want to eat the chalk, or are you going to pivot?
I'm going to pivot to Joe Burrow in this spot. Steve and Julian talked about this in the last segment. Cincinnati looked really good here with the Packers secondary being banged up, and the healthy cornerbacks that they have in Kevin King and Eric Stokes are not good. They don't have much of a pass rush. Cincinnati's O-line has played really well when there isn't much of a pass rush. And Burrow, his receivers aren't dropping passes. His accuracy is near the top in the league. His running back is banged up. This is a perfect spot for Joe Burrow.
Jeff, you are not eating that chalk.
I mean, I don't even hate Daniel Jones this week. It's just there's so many viable options in this range. I like the Joe Burrow pick by Piers. I'm going to Trey Lance, though, at 5,700. Not only is he cheaper, but this matchup against Arizona. I mean, I know the total went down a little bit when Trey Lance was announced as quarterback, but you've got to think, I mean, with how efficient Arizona's offense, and we're going to see a lot of garbage time and potentially prevent offense for Trey Lance to go up against. And look, the biggest thing is here, 11 rush attempts last week in like half a game. That is absolutely massive. He didn't rush much in preseason, but I think you were pulling the wool over people's eyes here. I think Trey Lance is going to rush a lot in this game, and I think there's a little bit more potential here with how bad a rush defense Arizona's been. They've allowed 5.4 yards per carry. So I really like Trey Lance at 5,700. Lots of upside in a potential fast-paced game.
Reed, you are going to make Emerson Lotzia very happy with your pick.
Yeah, he Venmoed me $10, so now I'm choosing Trevor. No, he didn't. Trevor Lawrence, everybody. I think he's viable this week in this matchup. And look, Tennessee's defense, they've been struggling. They're bottom third in both pass and run total defense. And when you take a look at the pace of how fast both of these teams play, probably because both of them have been playing from behind, they're top 5, top 6 in pace of play. And Trevor Lawrence, we saw on Thursday night that they have designed runs for him. He's going to be a guy, because of them, just the game script, that's going to allow you to get a lot of upside. You look at this game, most people aren't going to, with the most games, guys, over 50 points on the slate. You take a look at this one, it's probably going to be maybe overlooked a little bit, but I like Trevor Lawrence in this matchup, Emerson.
All right, Alvin Kamara at Washington football team, 8,600. Pierce, you do not want that chalk.
I don't. Najee Harris is more Alvin Kamara than Alvin Kamara. He leads the NFL for running backs in snaps. He leads the NFL in targets. What more can you ask? I know that the matchup is not very good against Denver, but let's say Denver plays well. Well, Pittsburgh playing from behind, they're going to pass the ball to Najee Harris. And if Pittsburgh is winning this game, it's probably going to have a lot to do with Harris. I just don't see a game script, and we haven't seen one so far this season, where Harris isn't very active in the game.
All right, now, Jeff, you're going with Saquon, and so is Reed. But, Jeff, you start and tell me why you're going with Barkley.
Well, I mean, Saquon's even more Alvin Kamara than Najee Harris is, so maybe he's even more Najee Harris than Najee Harris. But I don't know. Saquon Barkley's a better running back, and he's got a better matchup. Pierce alluded to the fact Harris is playing Denver. Well, Saquon Barkley's playing Dallas. Guess who's allowed the most receptions to opposing running backs through 4 weeks? It's the Dallas Cowboys. Do not have good linebackers. Look, the one great thing here, Saquon was back last week. He only took 13 carries, 7 targets in the pass game. That's more than Alvin Kamara has seen all season in a game. Saints just are not using Kamara how we want him. The Giants look like they're going to use Saquon exactly how we want to. A lot in the pass game, projected to be down. I love Saquon in the spot. Still affordable, too, at 7,300.
Reed, you also love him.
Yeah, and Jeff alluded to it, his pass game production and what his opportunities, right? 13 targets, I believe, over the last 2 games, and he's converting those into a lot of yards. And Daniel Jones is a viable runner, so the defense has to respect what he's doing at the quarterback position. So Saquon, guy who saw a lot of 8+ men boxes, right, for his entire career, is getting some relief here. Kenny Golladay, as that alpha receiver, is helping this. Evan Ingram is active. He's healthy in this matchup. He potentially provides some leverage if you want to go there. But Saquon, guys, 11 red zone targets over his first 4 games. That is massive. And he converted 2 of those, right? I think that regresses positively. So I agree with Jeff here. I think Saquon's the play.
All right, let's talk wide receivers. Davonte Adams, he's $8,200 at Cincinnati. And Piers, this situation is just too good for you to pass up, huh?
Yeah, I will be eating the chalk. I like Cincinnati, so I got to run it back with somebody. And Adams and Rodgers have looked good this season, especially in competitive games where it's been close. He's averaging, 10 receptions, 125 yards per game. And as it was mentioned earlier, this game is starting to look like it's going to get closer with Green Bay's secondary being banged up. And hey, by the way, Cincinnati's secondary not very good, and both their starting cornerbacks were limited in practice this week.
All right, Jeff, you're going to have a belly full of chalk, too.
I definitely don't mind eating the chalk with Davonte Adams, but just for the sake of argument here, if you were thinking of pivoting, because Pierce basically laid out all the reasons that I was going to lay out, I think Justin Jefferson is a fine pivot here. Dalvin Cook banged up. Minnesota really not that good a team. I think Detroit can make this a competitive game. I think Justin Jefferson is a very good pivot. Or maybe you play Davonte Adams and Justin Jefferson, pay up for 2 wide receivers. That gives you a really unique lineup. Davonte Adams is going to eat against that secondary, but Justin Jefferson could be a really up-tempo game there, especially if Minnesota's defense doesn't play that good. So a couple high-priced wide receivers. You can get lower ownership, though, on Jefferson if that's what you crave.
Reed, you're pivoting here.
I am. And look, Davonte Adams is in a great spot. So this is not an indictment on what people are going to think about, in my opinion, on Davonte Adams, or not an indictment on Davonte Adams and his opportunity. that's not it. But DJ Moore, guys, let's take a look at DJ Moore and what he's done so far this season. It's been fantastic, right? The target share that he has, he's becoming one of these receivers. And if you want to pair him with Sam Darnold, right, to pay up over at the quarterback position for Sam Darnold over his last few weeks. But I think that's absolutely viable in this matchup against the Eagles. And if you take a look at his target share, it's been massive, right? Robbie Anderson is sort of that third man on that team right now. When you have, when Christian McCaffrey obviously is back, but still, I mean, it's been DJ Moore this entire time. If you look at his game logs, 100 yards or multiple targets and multiple catches in 3 of his 4 games and a touchdown. That is massive. So at $7,300, I believe, DJ Moore is the play.
All right, another guy who's $7,300, tight end Darren Waller versus Chicago. Piers, you want to pivot here?
Yeah, I can't spend that amount of money on a tight end. I'll take the savings of Dalton Schultz at $4,400. 23 targets this season. He's caught 87% of those. A lot of guys get targets like Waller, but they don't do a lot with them. He's getting targets. He's catching the targets. He's getting the end zone. We expect the Giants and the Cowboys to be a big game with a lot of points, and the Giants have surrendered a ton of fantasy points to tight ends. I know a lot of people are going to go to Cooper or Elliott, but I think Schultz is going to be the guy in the red zone.
Jeff, you're pivoting to Cam Brate. Why?
Yeah, Nate Cameron Brate again. I think the last time Pierce and I used that line, I actually had hair, but you look at the matchup here. I mean, the Miami Dolphins on the outside, they have elite corners here. And what do? They tend to funnel passes towards the middle of the field. Not that great against opposing tight ends this year. Have already allowed 3 touchdowns. Cameron Brate, 6 targets last week. He was the only Tampa Bay tight end to catch a ball. Some people are going to be on Mike Gesicki here because of the Devontae Parker injury. Brate's a lot cheaper, and he's got a better quarterback. So I actually really like the $3,300 play on Cameron Brate.
Reed, you're rolling with Pierce's pick, Dalton Schultz.
Yeah, Dalton Schultz is the #1 tight end in that offense now. We thought it was going to be Blake Jarwin, maybe the more talented tight end, But right now, you look the target share and the snap share is going to Dalton Schultz, and the Giants have been historically bad against tight ends. They're 24th against the position right now. So if you're going, if you want to pivot off of Darren Waller, it's Dalton Schultz and another guy, Tyler Conklin. I think he's getting some love as well. So if you want to fade off of those high-priced guys in that matchup, Tyler Conklin is also someone you can take a look at.
All right, good stuff, fam. Coming up, Jeff and Pierce will stick around to talk about what is sure to be a high-flying showdown in Kansas City as the Bills take on the Chiefs on Sunday night. Plus, we're going to get their favorite plays for this week's Monday night showdown between the Colts and Ravens as part of our primetime picks segment. That plus our analysts' last-minute takes on this week's slate as the Sweat presented by DraftKings continues on Bally Sports Networks.
DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL. And today, new customers can bet $1 on any NFL game and get $100 if any point is scored. Plus, new fantasy players can play free for millions when you make your first deposit. Just download any of the apps and use promo code SWEAT.
Another Sunday, another chance to win $1 million. You can enter the NFL 4 Million Fantasy Millionaire Contest right now in the DraftKings lobby. It's a $20 entry fee that gets you a shot at the $1 million first prize. Plus, the winner will earn a seat to our DraftKings Tournament of Champions, the ultimate DFS contest for the best of the best in fantasy, which will take place in January, and we'll have another $1 million top prize. We have just under 20 minutes or so until lock, so go check out that contest now. All right, we are closing in on 1 o'clock, like I said, and we like to give you all sorts of angles and opinions here on The Sweat presented by DraftKings. So let's send it over to Emerson, who's standing by with the man behind the Ross Tucker Football Podcast.
It is time once again to get Tucker's takes on this Sunday slate. So we will welcome in now the multi-talented podcaster, broadcaster, former NFL lineman Ross Tucker. How are you today, pal?
I'm doing awesome. I like that. Multi-talented podcaster, broadcaster, former. I need you as like my hype man, dude.
Dude, that's what I am. I'm a hype man. I'm your wingman for life, all right? But on not such a high note, the Jaguars. They're in this grind of a season. It just continues. So they're hosting the Titans under the cloud of controversy that is Urban Meyer. Well, put it this way, had some questionable conduct following their game last week against the Bengals when he did not travel back with the team, stuck around to visit family. Anyway, the team itself did show some signs of life in that loss to Cincy. And this week, home dogs against Tennessee. So Meyer said he doesn't want to be a distraction, Ross, but do you think this will be and maybe prevent the Jags from covering this spread?
You know, it's so funny, dude. Everybody's been asking me this week, what's it like, what's it like? You were a former player. Well, I don't ever remember my head coach not coming back on the team playing. And I certainly didn't play during the social media video, phone video era. So I don't really know. Now, I do remember distractions. And the thing that's funny about any type of distraction or outside noise, as they call it, it can really go one of two ways. I mean, somehow you could call it a rallying cry. They could say, all right, everybody thinks we're going to be terrible now. Everybody thinks we're going to crumble under this environment, and you can rally around it. Or you can crumble because of everybody being skeptical of the head coach now. And, well, this guy doesn't care that much. He's not even coming back with us on the team playing. So, honestly, this is one of those, Emerson, where my recommendation is to stay away. Unless you have a really good feel for it, I would stay away because I think it's like a fork in the road. It's going one way or the other, and I have no idea which way it's going. If it goes the good way, I think they can not only cover, maybe win the game. If it goes the other way, they could get blown out. I'm staying away, dude.
All right, let's see if Bill Belichick will have a good game plan here for Davis Mills, because the Patriots, they made some headlines this week as well when they traded away disgruntled cornerback Stephon Gilmore to the Panthers. So he was on the PUP list. He wasn't going to play this week anyway, but maybe the Patriots, like defensive performance against the Bucs last week, gave Hoodie the confidence to cut the former defensive player of the year. So this week, again, they get a nice soft matchup against the Texans, who have an identical 1-3 record. Do you expect them to dominate Houston, the Patriots, and cover this big spread?
No, I don't. I think this will be a competitive game. I think the Patriots got so high and so up for the Brady return that they're poised for a little bit of a letdown. The Texans got embarrassed, man. I mean, 40-0 in an NFL game. That is ugly. I know Davis Mills did not play well. I expect him to play better at home. They have a prideful bunch. Remember this, Nick Caserio was in New England forever. Nick Caserio was in New England when I was in New England. So he knows the personnel for the Patriots very, very well. He knows how to attack them. Look, I think Patriots win the game. I think Mac Jones is playing very well. But I do think the Texans are able to keep this one close enough to cover. I would take the Texans in the points.
Yeah, and New England, by the way, 2-7 ATS in their last 9 games as a favorite. So I think you're onto something here. Let's get to this marquee matchup of the week. It's an AFC Championship rematch from last year between the Chiefs and the Bills. You got Buffalo. That's when the Bills gave KC a run for their money before ultimately falling by 14 points, 38-24. Chiefs will be favored at home here, but do you think Buffalo can get the job done this time?
Oh, yes. Yeah, this is one of my favorite plays of the week. I like the Bills and the points. the Chiefs' defense is terrible. I mean, they have the worst defense in the NFL. The Bills are a much improved team. And I know all week they've been saying, it's just the next game. It's just week 5. They are so full of it, dude. That's what their head coach told them to say. So they're repeating it. They know how much this game matters. They know how important this game is. They want to win this game desperately to make a statement to the rest of the AFC, to continue to punch the Chiefs while they're down and not let them get back up and get the number 1 seed in the AFC. And the Bills are playing at a really high level. Their defense is much improved. Love the Bills and the points.
Last one before you go. Monday Night Football between the Colts and the Ravens. Colts picking up their first win of the season last week against Miami. This is a little tougher of an opponent, though. Can they slow down Lamar and this offense, or you think Baltimore just runs away with it?
I think Baltimore runs away with it. I really do. I like the way the Ravens are throwing the ball. This is the best their passing game has looked in a long time. We know about the running game. So I think they'll be able to move the ball and score points. They always do. And then defensively, this is not a good matchup for Carson Wentz. With Wink Martindale's blitzes coming from all over the place, Wentz likes to hold on to the ball. He likes to try to extend plays. Could get ugly. I like the Ravens by quite a bit.
All right, good stuff. Ross Tucker, appreciate you, man. We'll catch up with you next weekend.
My pleasure.
DraftKings contributors Piers Dietrich and Jeff Ulrich are here with me now to share with us their primetime picks. Okay, guys? So, favorite DFS and sportsbook plays for Sunday night and Monday Night Football. Piers, who is your favorite DFS play for Bills Chiefs?
Dawson Knox. This is no longer Steph Diggs' team. It's Dawson Knox. Now, it's a bit of an exaggeration, but 20 targets, 15 catches, 144 yards, and 4 touchdowns, 7 red zone targets so far this season. It's all about touchdowns. You've got to get them in the showdown slate, especially at the lesser priced players. And Kansas City has allowed the 6th most fantasy points to tight ends this season. Give me Knox.
Jeff, speaking of tight ends.
I mean, I knew Pierce was going to pick some, guy who people barely heard of. But yes, let's stick with the tight end theme. Let's go to the good tight end in this game. Well, the better tight end. Nothing against Dawson Knox. Travis Kelce is too cheap here. His price really sticks out. $9,200 for the flex. But I like captaining him. He's 13-8. Pierce alluded to the fact you do need some value in this game because you're going to want at least one of the quarterbacks. Well, Travis Kelce, everyone coming off, everyone disappointed after he barely did anything in a blowout win over the Eagles, but 2 touchdowns last year against the Buffalo Bills. And look, Buffalo can be attacked over the middle of the field. They faced some pretty low-end tight ends so far this year, but they did allow 4 catches and a touchdown to Logan Thomas, a pretty good receiving tight end. I think Travis Kelce is going to be the key here for Kansas City because some pretty good corners on Buffalo. So I love Travis Kelce in this DFS showdown. Again, he's just too cheap.
All right, let's put our sportsbook hats on. Pierce, what's your favorite bet for Bills Chiefs?
Mine is the weekly special. It's that Allen and Mahomes go over 299.5 yards and each get a rushing touchdown. If we're expecting a lot of points, they've got to move the ball. And neither of these teams are really great at running the ball. They're going to pass. I don't think Allen's going to have any trouble going over 300 yards. Maybe you could be worried about Mahomes not getting points, but they're going to get plenty of opportunities. They're going to get yards through the air. It's going to be via Mahomes passing the ball. Allen gets a touchdown seemingly every week on the ground. So it really just comes down to, will Mahomes run the ball into the end zone? Against a bad defense, he probably wouldn't have to. They could run the ball in with their running backs or pass it. But in a tough matchup, he's going to have to be creative. He's going to have to scramble. I think there's a good chance that he gets in the end zone. Plus 800 odds on this bet.
Jeff, you like Mahomes to be passing out there?
I do, and I actually like the bet that Pierce mentioned. I think this one definitely has shootout potential. It's got a little bit of that Rams-Chiefs game feel from a few years back, but I'm going to make it a little bit simpler. Just go Patrick Mahomes over 2.5 passing touchdowns. You're getting plus 110 odds on this. Patrick Mahomes has thrown for 3 touchdowns in every single game thus far. And if you're worried about the Bills' defense, here's a list of the quarterbacks they faced so far. Ben Roethlisberger, or the corpse of Ben Roethlisberger, Jacoby Brissett and Tua, Taylor Heineke and Davis Mills. Not exactly a murderer's row here. This game is at home in Kansas City. This is a massive game, prime time. Patrick Mahomes getting plus money on this. I like Patrick Mahomes over 2.5 passing touchdowns. It's great odds you're getting.
All right, let's move to the other game. Jeff, which guy's your favorite DFS play for Colts Ravens?
Yeah, well, I'm going to get to this one first. Let's go really cheap. Let's bring out the Prosh 911. James Prosh, for the Baltimore Ravens. Only $1,000. That wide receiver 3 spot in the Ravens is up for grabs, and they're actually looking like a bit of an effective pass offense this year. The biggest thing is the matchup. Colts, really a traditional funnel to the pass defense here. They're good against the run, not good against the pass. 6th worst yards per pass attempt allowed. Proche converted 6 of his 5 targets last week. Devin Duvernay really more of a specialist, a kick returner. I think Proche is the guy. He looked good. And guess what? Sammy Watkins not that good. I think Proche is a very, very good play here at only 1K.
Piers, who's the guy for you?
I thought I was going Galaxy Brain, but I'll take Mo Alley Cox. 74% of the snaps last week, 2 touchdowns. We know that Carson Wentz likes to go to tight ends when he was at Philadelphia, so they could be building a bond there. And Baltimore has been terrible against tight ends. Over 30 receptions, 347 yards passing, 3 touches, just 2 tight ends. They were average against tight ends last year. They were average in the secondary last season. It's a bit of a flyer here, but I think you could save some money. And again, we're chasing touchdowns from cheap guys. That's what we can get from Mo Alley Cox.
All right, Piers, bring us home with your favorite bet for this one.
I like the under 23 in the first half. Both of these teams play at a very slow pace. Both of these teams' offenses have been very inefficient in the first quarter. The defense at Baltimore is going to do the job. The only thing you got to worry about with Indianapolis is the pass defense, but Baltimore's pass offense hasn't been that great. The Colts are averaging 7 points in the first half. The Ravens are averaging 14 points in the first half. That's under 23. I think this will work.
Jeff, favorite bet for Colts Ravens?
I really like targeting Carson Wentz props in this game. You could target the over on the passing yards. It's only 224, but I like just taking him for 1 interception, over 0.5 interceptions. Teams throw the ball a lot against Baltimore because Baltimore does move the ball on the ground or with the pass. Teams are averaging over 38.5 pass attempts against them. That means, what? More pass attempts, more chances for an interception. Carson Wentz was one of the leaders in interceptions last year. He's still banged up, and this is a tough Baltimore Ravens pass defense. I like this prop. Again, getting good odds here, plus 100, over 0.5 interceptions for Carson Wentz.
All right, thanks, you two. Appreciate it, as always. All right, so we've talked about a lot on this show so far, but of course, there's always more to think about. Are you second-guessing some of your plays? Are you starting to sweat a little bit? For that, I'm going to turn it over to the expert on sweating, my co-host Emerson Lotzia. Take it away, Emerson.
You got him 2 weeks in a row.
Doing that.
You are the prince of perspiration.
I know, dude, but I don't know if it's like a thyroid thing or something. So we gotta figure it out. Anywho, I'm not super moist right now, but maybe you guys could get me there. What are some things you may be rethinking right before lock? Reed T. Fowler.
Yeah, so like if you take a look at this slate, and most of the time we want to pay up to running backs, right? We want to get those solidified points, especially with those opportunities. But I'm paying up, guys, for receivers. Like this is the one spot that I want to pay up for receivers. You got Adams, Justin Jefferson, Terry McLaurin, DJ Moore. All of these guys right now are all viable in these matchups, especially with their quarterbacks if you want to pair them up with some lower cost quarterbacks. I think with the running backs, with some injuries that we've had, like Dalvin Cook and some other ones, that there are values at running back. So I'm going to be paying up for wide receiver this week.
Jules, you agree with that? You like wide receiver paying up at that position this week?
Well, so I do like wide receiver, but here's what I think that the chalk at running back is going to come through. Guys like Derrick Henry in really good spots, guys like Madison now with Cook out from Minnesota in a really good spot. Even an underdog Bears team in Vegas now with Montgomery out, you have Williams in a pretty decent spot. Like I'm gonna eat the chalk at running back and see what that means at receiver. So. There's value. If you're playing Trey Lance at quarterback, like you can fit a Davonte Adams at the top and still pay for receiver. I'm just going to prioritize running back above receiver.
Okay, what about you?
Yeah, so I just kind of reacting to some of the late news that's come through. Obviously, Devontae Parker's out for the Dolphins, so naturally people are going to gravitate towards someone like Jalen Waddle, which is fine, but Mike Gesicki's in a really good spot, too, for the Dolphins as well. The Buccaneers have been absolutely ravaged by opposing tight ends, allowing an average of 58 yards per game. Gesicki's going to get a lot of the targets, too, as well. And then, of course, Dalvin Cook's out for today. Alexander Mattison is going to be getting the workload for the Vikings, too, as well. That's not something that's going to fly under the radar, but with how late the news came in, how much have people pivoted off of what they've already been using at running back. So maybe you'll get Madison at an ownership that you might be a little bit surprised about for somebody who's moved into that RB1 role. He's kind of priced like one, so it's not like you're getting a discount, but just kind of reacting to that late news I think is pivotal, especially in those big field tournaments when people might be doing one way, you can go to the other.
Yeah, Gesicki rookie, $4,200 this week right now to roster on DraftKings with just a few minutes to go before lock. Also, rough week for tight ends with Kittle.
Yeah.
Gronk's out again.
Kelsey's not on the main slate.
Yep. And then Logan Thomas as well. The news coming down this past week.
Ricky Seals-Jones.
Yeah, Ricky Seals-Jones.
Is
2,500.
he in a good spot? Right?
Yeah,
He's a good value play.
That's your Washington value right there.
Yeah, I mean, at the stone minimum at 2,500, you can't get better value than that if you want to pay down at tight end.
I mean, let's talk here a little bit about making it rain for the people then. Since we're talking some value plays, give me a guy you think is going to absolutely, DFS play, that's going to absolutely make it rain cash for everyone.
Well, if it's not Trevor Lawrence this week, Emerson.
Listen, I just saw the crossover of John Daly and
okay.
Trevor Lawrence floating around on Twitter. Okay. Jags win their first game in more than a year today. Confirmed.
No. DJ Moore. I spoke about him in the pivot segment. $7,500. Excuse me, I mentioned that his price was $73. You got to pay a little extra for DJ Moore. In 3 or 4 games, guys, 11, 12, and 12 targets. In those games, he's averaged 26.5 or around that DK fantasy points per game in those matchups. You get this one with Philadelphia. I love it. So DJ Moore.
Yeah, and his quarterback is the rushing touchdown leader in the NFL right now.
Who would have guessed?
I don't know. Not me.
Not us. Right?
You like DJ Moore? You like the spot he's in?
I do like DJ Moore. I like the spot for the Panthers a lot against this Eagles defense that isn't very good. They're at home. I know some sharp money has come in on the Eagles, move this one down from 4 at opening all the way to 2.5. Steve seems to keep liking the Eagles, who seem to keep not covering with their rookie head coach and no defense. So this down at 2.5, I mean, just going to the betting side, like I'm on the Panthers this week. It's in my best bets article, and I think a reason why is that our rushing king, Sam Darnold, is going to have a good game passing the ball to all of those receivers.
Throws it.
You mentioned earlier you thought the running back position is one that you were going to be targeting, and right now your make it rain pick is one of the biggest, beefiest dudes in the NFL.
Give me the $9,000 on Derrick Henry, and we can figure the rest out. There's the value to make it happen. I want the chalk. Like, just look at Derrick Henry. First of all, Derrick Henry's scored over 100 DraftKings points in his last 3 games combined. So they've been feeding him. Julio Jones is out again. Then you go and look at the game log year by year against the Jaguars, and you see he pretty much has a 200-yard, 3-touchdown game once a year against Jacksonville, and he's probably going to do it again. This is one of those spots where the upside can't be overstated. It's like 50 DraftKings points.
Yeah, which he hit 50 DraftKings points in week 2 at Seattle, so it's doable. We know it, especially against the Jags. Awesome, Jules. Good to know that.
Thank you.
Steven, you're going into the wide receiver department here, it looks like?
Yeah, we're going to go with Justin Jefferson in this matchup against the Detroit Lions. Obviously, the Vikings are one of the biggest favorites on this slate, -10 on the spread for this one here. But don't make any mistake there. Justin Jefferson is going to get his share of the ball too as well, going against Warrior in coverage, who's been targeted again 16 times, has allowed 11 receptions for 151 total yards. Justin Jefferson also dominates the team in air yards so far, 417 on the season. That gives him an average distance of targets at 11.2, and the Lions allowing a league-leading 11.7 yards per target. That is the highest in the league to opposing wide receivers. I know Adam Thielen's obviously in the mix here too as well, but Justin Jefferson continues to get it done week in and week out.
7 deep targets for Justin Jefferson. No Dalvin Cook. This guy is the alpha. Even though Thielen is a red zone guy, Justin Jefferson can get points.
So worth paying the second highest priced wide receiver tag today at $7,700 for that guy.
Yeah, and a lot of your receiver exposure is going to correlate too with your quarterback. And if you know me, I'm a staunch Kirk Cousins guy apparently this season. But yeah, look, Kirk Cousins, he's been distributing the ball evenly, right? And a lot of love, like I mentioned, Tyler Conklin is a play. But again, you look at Alexander Madison, it gives you leverage off if you go Justin Jefferson, even though he's probably going to be popular. That's definitely chalk that I want to eat.
We got like 30 seconds left here in show. I see Mixon's active today, Jules. Is that someone you'd still steer clear of?
No need to. It's a good spot for the Bengals overall, but I'll stay clear of Mixon.
All right, good stuff, man. That's a show, guys.
Great show.
All right, so we're going to be back here again next Sunday on Bally Sports Networks around the country. Also, the DraftKings YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch pages, high noon to 1 o'clock. But we also do this show Monday through Friday, 11 o'clock Eastern time until high noon. That's on the DraftKings YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter pages. Come find us. Thanks for hanging with us today, everybody. Have a great rest of your